And we are live. Oh, it's been a while. I hope you can see me a little bit with all the windows in the background. And I hope you can hear me also. Welcome. If you have questions, please put them in caps. And I will take like 2 or 3 breaks during my little story where I will answer your questions. And today we're going to talk about bad LOs. And in this case, it's the indecisive LO. And limerence, we by now know what limerence is, I hope. The obsessive infatuation with another person. And normally on my channel, I don't focus that much on the LOs. I focus on you and your circumstances, your grief, your pain, your journey, and sometimes also your lesson. And in general, I'm quite mild. I don't really believe in bad people. There are bad people, but not a lot of people wake up with intention to really deliberately hurt you. But I do believe in trauma, and I know that there are a lot of damaging LOs because I see that in my with my clients. And I don't have any scientific proof for this. But I'm pretty sure that most of the LOs out there do have some trauma or at least some serious attachment wounds. And even though they might not be bad people, the damage they can do to us limerents is tremendous. So let's be political incorrect and maybe a little bit black and white, but let's rant and let's gossip about our bad LOs. And please don't hold back on your immature, wavering, hot and cold, indecisive, unclear other. And if you have any experience with this, please put it in the comments because it's so nice for us people, for limerents out there, to see and read that they are not alone. I have my notes with me and I'm going to peek at them here and now. So if you see me look at this side, it's because I have my notes there. So, not all LOs are narcissistic, breadcrumbing psychopaths, right? Some of them have done nothing wrong besides being your teacher or your therapist or your neighbor, a very friendly neighbor. And sometimes they have no idea, and sometimes they do have an idea, and they're trying to stay nice to you and not leading you on. But some of them are, in fact, hot and cold, mixed messaging, pulling away, breadcrumbers who want to keep you around while not exactly choosing you. And it's so difficult for them because they don't know what they want and you bored them. Indecisive LOs. It's probably, again, like I said, it's probably not bad intended, but it's cruel nonetheless. Being not clear is cruel. And I'm going to repeat that because I think that's so important. Not being clear to someone who is obviously in love with you is cruel. And people with a more avoidant attachment style can cause a lot of disruption, especially when they don't know that they have an avoidant avoidant attachment style. And maybe you didn't know either in the beginning, because people who have an avoidant attachment style and are not aware of this tend to think that it's you. And they will probably also express that it's you. There's something wrong with you. They do a little gaslighting here and there. They express it's you and you are the reason that you are not with them or they cannot commit to you. And this video is also about making you feel a little bit less crazy, because in most cases, LO did or does something to keep you going. They do something to make you feel miserable. In most cases, you don't go to the supermarket, you buy some cheese, you see someone, and boom, you're limerent for the next decade. That's normally not how it goes. And limerence can be one-sided, but in most cases, the LO did something to like flirtatious, being flirtatious, having a lot of attention. They did something to keep this fire going, flirting, love bombing in some cases, future faking, going 0 to 100 in the beginning, and after a while, pulling back or giving you sometimes the attention when it suits them. And in some cases, they don't want a relationship, but they do want your time. They do want your validation. They do want your energy. Sometimes they do want your intimacy, your body, but they're not giving safety and clarity in return. They don't offer you a happy, healthy, secure relationship. And that's the whole reason why our nervous system goes ballistic, because we get a little, but we don't get it all, and there is not enough safety in our bones. Limerence is about unsafety, and I cannot express that enough. And the two main ingredients of limerence are obstacles and hope. Obstacles such as fakeness. Fakeness is also an obstacle. So if you have any questions, please put them in caps and I will answer them. Okay, Christian says, I'm afraid my LO will contact me for my birthday in a week. I have been in no contact for 5 months. Good for you. And I feel better. We separated because of distance and she is very respectful, but I'm still afraid. What should I do? I don't want to block her. Well, that would be an option, of course, to block her. She really is respectful and doesn't contact me. I became limerence because she kept telling me she hopes to see me again. When will circumstances be better? Oh, yeah, when will circumstances be better? That's a massive hope. It's also an obstacle. So those are really big ingredients for a limerent episode. And you also write, Christian, that is what made me limerent. Now, of course, if you want to be absolutely sure that you don't ever want to, deal with the LO contacting you, you can put them in block and you can write them a respectful message saying, I have to put you in block. Well, you don't even have to say sorry. This is not because you're not a great person, but it's better for me. And they will understand, of course. If you say, I'm not really a blocker, I'm not a blocker. I never blocked anyone in my life, but for some people it's really healthy. And you're allowed to when you're in limerence. You can ask her, you can send her a message. Hey, I noticed that this birthday is becoming a thing. And I ask you respectfully to not congratulate me. You can give someone instructions. You can also deal with it if she congratulates you. Okay, then, you know that she does that and you don't really have to reply, or you just say one thank you and that's it. But if you don't want to break no contact, it's perfectly fine to put somebody on block even for a day, and explain that also. Okay, so I continue with my story. Let me see if my chat works. Does my chat works? Can somebody say hi or something? Because I know that sometimes I have some problems with my chat and I get nothing. And after a while, I get all the questions and all the chats at once. Yes, it works. Hi, Trey. Oh, I get a lot of highs. Yes, it's working. Do you have any questions for me? Please put them in caps so I can answer them. And I'm also really curious, are you watching this video because you have an indecisive LO? Have you ever dealt with an indecisive LO? And do you recognize how crazy making that is? I have, by the way. Okay, so sometimes they are indecisive. They don't flat out reject you, but they don't want to be with you either. Or sometimes they say, I don't know, I can't see a future. I read somewhere in my comments on one of my videos that an LO said, when somebody asks clarity, I don't know, I can't read in the future. That's so cruel because it keeps you in hope. It's also not a yes. And I've also heard Limerence say, yeah, maybe one day we will be together. Okay, all the Limerence hears is one day, one day, one day. Oh yeah, one day. Well, that's good enough. Let's do this for another decade. So the cruel behavior has some bad effects on us. It makes us limerent for once. We get addicted to the intermittent reward. And when we are addicted, our mind will follow. Our mind thinks, wow, we have such an this person has such a big impact on us physically. This must mean that this is a really important person. Let's make the limerent, us, think that they are dealing with someone so special that they have to hold on. So our mind gets manipulated and our minds get tricked, and we limerents genuinely think and believe that there is something special about this person, and this person has something that others don't have. Well, they don't. I know you don't believe me, but they don't. They're just ordinary people. It's just our system and our minds trying to hold on because our nervous system got attached and we think that we die without them. And sometimes, should we? Oh, I have a question. I'm going to do a question in between and then I'll continue. Um, yes, he can't commit. He's severely avoidant and freezes up. Knit paint, please get out. And I know that you've heard this advice, and I know that friends will tell you, why are you doing this? Why don't you let go? It's not that easy. I know that. But you can't fix an avoidant. Believe me, there were people before who tried you. There will be people after you who try. You can't fix an avoidant. I'm not saying you cannot cure attachment styles because I've been an avoidant. I am not anymore. And attachment styles are also fluid. I've been anxious. I've been secure in some relationships. I'm securely attached now. I reacted avoidant to some people also due to the dynamic and the circumstances. I've also been very anxious. So I've been all. I cannot, you can deal and you can cure an attachment style, I'm sure. But if somebody is not willing to do that, you can't do that for them. Should you tell spouse about limerence? Hi, Enda. Do you mean your spouse? Well, since we limerents are out of integrity, and that's the whole, in the main reasons, or the majority of the cases, we get in trouble, we get limerence when we go out of integrity. So being in integrity helps us. Of course, I cannot tell you if you should, tell you this to your spouse because, that's a different situation for everyone, and I don't know your situation at all. But being in integrity is more prevents you more against limerence than being out of integrity. So being honest, I'm a big fan of honesty. So maybe yes, you will hurt them, but at least somebody knows what's going on with the partner, and then you can talk about this and you can educate your partner and you can be more open about this. And I do believe that maybe this gives you a bigger chance to survive. But again, there's not a lot of information in this question. I told my crush I was tired of being breadcrumbed, and she apologized and then rejected me. She asked if we could still hug each other. I said no, being cold towards her, and now I cannot get. I cannot get it out of my head. Well, how long has it been, Monica? Good for you. Good for you. Good for you. When you ask them clarity, you say, I'm tired of being breadcrumbs. And then they reject you. Okay, at least you have clarity there. Good for you. You've been an adult expressing this, and give them the chance to say, no, I don't want to be with you. I cannot get her out of my head. Well, how long has it been, Monica? Because if this is only a few weeks or a few months, it's normal that you still think about them all the time. It's been 2 weeks, yeah. But I feel now she wants me back. She should address and make it very clear that she wants you back. As long as you don't get a, hey, Monica, I want to be with you in a happy, healthy, secure relationship, as long as she doesn't express that, it's still a no. Can we make this deal among us, you and me? If she doesn't say, "Hey Monica, I made a big mistake. I want to be with you in a relationship." Anything else is still a no. But 2 weeks is not enough to get her out of your head. Of course not. Have a little compassion with yourself, because of course at 2 weeks after rejection, you still think about your limerent object. Yeah, welcome. We should not accept maybe. No, yes is the only thing we should accept. Hi everyone. Hi Manuel. I'm so happy you're here. Okay. It has been misery for 5 years, but I'm out now. I still want them sometimes. Yeah, Limerence is not like, okay, I'm in Limerence and then boom, after 2 years on Monday it's over. It's a very slow process. But going no contact works, people. It really does. But you have to give it time. You have to give it time. And some people say, no contact doesn't work because I'm in 2 months and I'm still miserable. I'm even more miserable than I was with them because then I had some dopamine sometimes. No, that just means that you have to keep on going, keep on going, keep on going, keep on going. And one day you'll kiss yourself. You'll kiss yourself, thanking yourself on your knees that you went no contact and you did the hard work and you kept the boundaries. Any more questions? Otherwise, I continue with my story. Fenna, can you give a basic explanation of what avoidant attachment style is? Good question. It's a little bit complicated. Okay. Being anxiously attached and being avoidant attached they're two different attachment styles. They're actually the same. They're the same on the same, well, let's say line. They're just our behavior is on the other side. They both have to do with attachment wounds. They both have to do with fear, and they both have to do with fear of abandonment. And it's not really know how to relate towards the other, and not being really good in dealing with intimacy. And an anxiously person wants to have reassurance. They want to have reassurance, and they freak out when they're not in contact with the other, and their nervous system gets really freaked out. The avoidance also freaks out, but that's because of the closeness. When things get serious, the avoidant can get in the beginning really from 0 to 100, love bombing you, and they mean it. I mean, I don't think they're lying. They mean it. Oh, you're great, blah, blah, blah. And when things get a little bit more serious, and they don't do this consciously, it's physically, they pull away. They're like, I'm not really sure. Maybe I was a little bit too enthusiastic. Maybe this person wants more of me that I can give. And they pull away. And of course, if they pull away, the other person tends to freak out, or at least, don't understand this and start to ask them, or maybe even bug them. And it makes them pull away even further. People with an avoidant attachment style have learned somewhere along the way that they have to provide for themselves, and anything else that threatens that independency, that autonomy, subconsciously again, is a threat to them. So somebody who needs them, somebody who wants to take care of them, somebody who comes too close is a threat. And again, that's not something they experience consciously, but it's very physically. Just like an anxious person gets physically aroused and activated in a nervous system where they don't hear from the avoidant for 3 days or longer. So they pull away, but after there's enough space between, they always want to have space. And if there's enough space, they're like, now it feels safe enough to come back. And then they come back. And, the other person is like, oh, and then they pull away again. And, if you're not careful, you can do this dance with an avoidance for years or decades. My LO is in limerence to his LO. I feel rejected and not worthy. How to heal and not in limerence with him again. This happens a lot. Them being limerent is about them. It has nothing to do with you, if you're great or your worth. Limerence is about attachment wounds in most cases. So this is about their childhood. It has nothing to do with you, Sri Candy. It has nothing to do with you. For anyone who's in limerence and who wants to get out, the fastest way is to go no contact. And no, we don't go no contact for 2 months and then we think, oh, now I feel better. I can deal with this person now. No, we can't. We have to go no contact for at least a year or at least 2 years. And then we don't even want to go back anymore. Then we kiss ourselves, thanking us for having gone no contact. Is the root cause of limerence childhood trauma complex CPTSD? Would you explain about attachment wounds? Is it from childhood? Okay. Dr. L, is a neuro scientist. He has done a lot of studies. He is convinced. He's saying no, limerence is you're born being vulnerable for limerence or not. It has nothing to do with trauma. And I don't agree with him, because all the clients I've seen, there are some attachment wounds, but attachment wounds is not the same as trauma. You can have also inherited attachment wounds. My grandmother, I had a really happy childhood, but my grandmother was narcissistic. She didn't do the healing. My mom never talked about it. She didn't do the healing. I did the healing for them. I don't have trauma that I can remember, but I can understand that there is trauma running around in my family history, and trauma goes in our DNA. So no, not all limerents have trauma, but I do believe that limerents do have attachment wounds. But circumstances play a very big role in the developing and the beginning of a limerent episode. So if you have attachment wounds, and most people do have attachment wounds. If you have attachment wounds and you're sensitive for limerence, and then the wrong person comes along in the wrong circumstances, then we have the ingredient for a limerent episode. So yes and no, I do believe that limerents do have attachment wounds. Not all limerents have trauma that they can remember or recollect. What does healthy attraction feel like? Can you talk about healthy attraction, dating and building intimacy? I struggle with being used to the intensity from trauma bond, and I try to learn what healthy love is. Good questions. I'll do another video about that, by the way. Limerence feels like whoosh. The moment we feel the glimmer, and especially if it's mutual limerence, and then you have two people with attachment wounds, because in most cases LO also have attachment wounds or trauma. It is overwhelming because of the flood of dopamine, and because dopamine is a scale and it goes up and down, because of the unsafety, the hormones intensify so much. That does not mean, people, that does not mean that you are doomed to having boring, non-excitement, non-arousing, non-sexual relationships. It's either, oh, I have to have a trauma bond with somebody, or it's flat out boring. No, maybe your window is a little bit smaller than other people. you have to be careful who you're dating, but it doesn't mean that you cannot have both, because you can. You can be very attractive to your your boyfriend, girlfriend, your spouse, or your partner, but not feel the fear and the overwhelming whoosh. You can, you absolutely can. I'm living proof, by the way. You have to be careful when you're dating, because you have to date with people and limit the obstacles. If there are obstacles, if this is somebody who's 20 years younger, if this is somebody who is still in some kind of relationship, if this is somebody who wants to be poly and you kind of don't, if this is someone who lives in another country, I'm sorry, but you cannot date them if you are vulnerable for limerence, because we cannot afford to date sloppy. We have to, at least, that's the least thing we can do if we start dating, is look at if there are obstacles, and if there are obstacles, don't date these people, or at least get out after the moment you learn that there are obstacles. To clarity, I guess, was how I do go about a new date normally and not let my attachment to LO affect. Okay, I'm going to read this again. To clarify, okay, this was something that you wrote before. I'll get back to that. I'll get back to that. Okay. I'm gonna come back to all the questions, but I'm gonna continue to read what to do also when you are dealing with a unclear, undecisive, wavery, hot and cold LO. So our mind gets tricked. In Limerence, we generally think that there is something special about this person. Even sometimes I hear people say, you know, I know that my person is not all that, and I don't even like them, but still I think they're special, and I want to hold on. But it's a trick, people. It's a trick. It's not based on facts. You don't have the fact that this person is so good for you and so special that you have to keep them around in order to be happy. It's the exact other way around. You don't want this, or you don't need this person to be happy. This person makes you miserable. When we are in limerence, it means that our hormones are dysregulated and we cannot be happy when we walk around with a dysregulated hormonal system. So in any case, no matter how great your LO is, this person dysregulates you. That means that this person is bad news for you, because we cannot be happy. In the beginning, we feel very happy because of the flood of hormones, but it's not a stable stage. You cannot be happy when you have a dysregulated hormonal system that is focused and addicted to another person, because we need the other person to be happy, and they don't provide us with safety. So our mind gets strict, and we humans like scarcity. We go crazy on hope. Hope is so toxic, by the way. And in fact, dopamine only lives in the future. So we get a lot of dopamine when we think about the future plans, or the maybe, or the what ifs, or the one day, or the future that we will be with LO. And when we see the dangling carrot, we go after it, especially because limerence feels so good in the beginning. And we want to go back. We want to go back on how we felt in the beginning, when they were love bombing us, when they give us the attention, when we didn't feel so anxious yet. We want to go back. And that is the tricky thing in limerence that keeps us going on. By the way, have you seen the hit series Baby Reindeer? Everyone is talking about it. I also thought it was really good. And I get a lot of questions. If you have, please put it in caps. I get a lot of questions if Martha was limerent. What do you think? Do you think Martha was limerent? My answer, no. Thank God. Martha had an erotomanic delusional disorder, which is a paranoid. No, she was not. She was not. Of course, she. Okay, hear me out. She has a delusion, erotomanic delusional disorder, which is a paranoid disorder where the person thinks that the other person is in love with them or they are in a relationship with them. And the big difference is that we limerents, we are, even though we also read into things, we are painfully aware of the fact that we are not with LO, and that's why we suffer. But people with an erotomanic delusional disorder are 100% convinced that they are in fact with the other, and you cannot give them facts or evidence or a clear rejection, because somebody with a delusional disorder, it doesn't come through. Baby Baby Reindeer, it's on Netflix. It's about a stalker, and I know that a lot of people think that Marta has limerence, and yes, there are similarities, but no, Marta has an erotomanic delusional disorder, which plays out more in women, by the way, and limerence doesn't. We limerents have a delusional part of us because we kind of ignore the fact that, we're not happy. We kind of also ignore that we're not compatible with LO, but we're also aware of our weird behavior. We also have still a non-delusional part of us that is parallel to our delusional part, thinking, okay, this, I'm suffering. This, why do I do this? I don't want to be in limerence. I hate this. Why am I not with them? That's something completely else. Believe me, I worked with people with delusional disorders. So no, Martha is not limerent. Okay. Having said that, indecisiveness feels hope, and hope is one of the two main ingredients for limerence. So what to do? Okay, if you're dealing with an LO, and if you're in limerence and you're dealing with a breadcrumbing LO and you feel triggered and you feel unsafe and etc., you ask yourself a few simple questions. And one of them is, are you happy? Are you happy with this person? And I don't mean sometimes, / when there's breadcrumbing, when you did get a little attention, when there was some attention, dopamine. I mean overall, are you happy on a daily basis? Do you feel calm? Do you feel safe and satisfied? And of course, I know the answer is no, otherwise you would watch this video. It's such a simple but yet an important question. Are you happy in the here and the now? Not in the future, not in the maybe one day, in the here and the now. Do their actions make you overall feel calm and happy? And another thing to realize is the reason that they are indecisive does not matter. They can be busy, they can be traumatized, they can be in a very complex situation, they can, be whatever, too tired to talk, blah, 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 in circumstances. It doesn't matter. If you are not happy, that's all the information that you need. They do not fulfill your needs. That's the whole dynamic of limerence. Unfulfilled needs make a tricked out or stressed out nervous system. So the reason why and the reason what they give you, they can have the best reason in the world, doesn't change your needs. And it's just not good enough. If someone is too busy, if somebody has a really good reason why they cannot give you attention, or why they cannot be with you, or why they cannot interact more with you or be more predictable, it doesn't really matter, because it's just not good enough. They don't fulfill your needs. What can we do? We can ask for clarity. And a lot of us don't, because of fear for rejection, etc. But yes, we can actually ask for clarity. We have a mouth, we are adults, and we can ask something along the line like, hey, I noticed that this, is very confusing for me, or this relating that we have is, not defined enough for me, or it makes me very nervous. How do you feel about that? And what are your intentions with me? Or sometimes we can just ask, I want to be in a relationship with you, and how do you think about that? Sometimes the fastest way to get the information is when we ask and when we express we what we want. And you can also admit to yourself what we want. Don't pretend to be okay with casual if you're not. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be someone's girlfriend or wanting to have a defined relationship. Um, And sometimes we do bring this a little upon ourselves when we accept not getting clarity, and we pretend to be okay with casual, and we hope that one day, miraculously, things will change. While we don't express what we want, and we don't ask what the other what the other wants, we just hope that one day they will commit, which is, if they haven't so far, I mean, that's not very logical, right? That without you expressing what you want and giving them the opportunity to respond to that one day they will give you exactly what you need. I mean, why would they? So sometimes we bring this a little bit upon ourselves when we accept not getting clarity. We are afraid to scare them away. So we accept being miserable, hoping that one day we get what we want. I think asking somebody what their intentions are with you is sexy as, because it shows that you are an adult. It shows that you are curious about the other. It shows that you have boundaries, and it shows that you know what normality is. It's so normal to ask, hey, what are your intentions with me? And again, there's nothing wrong with this question. It's a very normal question, and sometimes a very unnormal situation. So to bring some normalcy to this situation, you can ask this. So we ask, and if the answer is a no or a maybe or something else still vague, we walk away. I'm sorry, that's just not good enough. That's not what I want. Call me if you change your mind. You can say this. You can even say this to someone. Okay, if you're ready for a committed relationship with me, call me. You have my number. Call me when you change your mind, even though you love them. Love is not enough. And let's stop justify love as an excuse to be miserable for decades. Love is not enough. We should be happy on a daily basis, not sometimes. I also wrote, love should not justify being miserable for decades. Love should not hurt that much. Love should not make your nerve system freak out. Love should not make you confused. Love should not make you confused. And sometimes we have to go of the person we love. It's not fair, it's painful, but it is what it is. As painful as it is, we walk away, we endure the pain until it gets better. And then we open ourselves up for somebody who does want what we want and who is clear about wanting to be with you and who is not fake, who wants what we want. And it's actually really great to be in a relationship with somebody and you don't have to second guess and you don't have to be confused all the time. I have another question. Limerence opened my eyes about the big differences between me and my husband. I quitted contact with my LO. He's much too younger, but I don't know how to live with my husband. I'm sorry this happened to you, but unfortunately, this happens a lot because Limerence is a mirror. It shows us that there is something wrong, and sometimes that is unhealed attachment wounds, sometimes that is unsatisfaction, and sometimes that's a marriage where we don't get our needs fulfilled, and there's lack of intimacy or there's lack of excitement or whatever it is. limerence can be a mirror, and sometimes when we go out of the limerence and we work on our marriage, we survive, and sometimes we don't, because limerence opened up a box of problems, or at least we see the problems for what it is, and we decide to leave our marriage after the limerence episode. But I do know that while you're in limerence, it's difficult to have a clear and objective view on your marriage. So limerence is never a solution for marital problems. I know that some people say, okay, I miss being intimate with my husband, so why don't I seek that someone else or open up the relationship? Sometimes secretly, sometimes not. So, I can have, my safety and my marriage here, and I can have my intimacy here. And if you're vulnerable for limerence, that doesn't really work, because you cannot bond enough for the need of your nervous system to the LO, and we get limerent, and so we get miserable. And then we have to have a cold hard look at our marriage, and see if this is fixable. But a lot of people don't survive a limit episode, because it opens up. It's a mirror shoved in your face saying, okay, you have a problem here. And like I said, some people do work on the marriage, and they say limerence is the best thing that ever happened to them. Question. I have a new date this week who I feel is out of my league physically, which triggers me to daydream 24/7 about my LO. Met only once. I'm dreading it because I'd be rejected and go back to LO. What do you mean you go back to LO? Do you mean that if you date somebody and you feel insecure, that you contact LO afterwards? Do you mean that? Thank you, Jim. Not a great chat. What do you mean, Lima? Do you mean that if you feel rejected, that you automatically, is it a pattern for you that you go back to LO? It sounds kind of simple, but you can also choose not to go back to LO and not use them to feel safe and secure, because they're not your safety. They're the opposite of your safety. I had an LO for a long time. No copyright music writes this. I had an LO for a long time. I was in love with the image I created in my head. Yeah, that's what we do. I do no contact. But now there are so many other girls. How do you prevent getting new LO while getting to know them? Well, of course, you cannot 100%, but there are things that can help you. Absolutely. Like I was talking before in this chat, eliminate the obstacles. If this is somebody who lives in, another country, don't. If this is somebody who's 20 years older or younger than you, don't. If this is inappropriate because it's your teacher, your boss, your coworker, don't. If this is somebody who is already in a relationship, don't. These mismatches or obstacles should be, you should, if you're vulnerable for limerence, you should not date somebody with obstacles. So it should be somebody who is relatively close by, who doesn't have a relationship. And what you can do is, even on the first date, express what you want. And you don't have to say, oh, I want to get married to you, but you can say, yeah, I'm looking for a committed monogamous relationship, for example. There's nothing wrong with that. Then you give somebody the chance to say, okay, well, thank you, because I'm more into fake. I wanted to say fakeness, but you give somebody the chance. Of course, you cannot eliminate all the red flags, and you cannot, prevent ever getting limerent. But watching the obstacles, dating very carefully, and being in integrity, people, being in integrity, being honest, helps you to prevent getting limerence, because most limerent episodes were there at the moment when we choose to play with fire or to get out of integrity. So choosing your dating partner wisely, looking at the obstacles, take red flags seriously, do walk away when it's time to walk away, and be in integrity can prevent you from a limerent episode. What are the most common reasons for an undecisive LO? I know that's hard to determine. Well, like I said, people with an avoidant attachment style, they are in the basis undecisive. So some people, of course, are undecisive because what happened to them or the circumstances that they're in. But they should at least, open up and talk about this and work on a solution with you. But if you have wavering people, and sometimes it's just, sometimes just because they're not that into you, or they want your fun and your validation and your time and attention, and sometimes also your body and intimacy, but they don't want the commitment. And sometimes they don't know what they want because they have an avoidant attachment style, and they see that you're great, but they also don't understand their feeling, and they're pulling away because that feels more safe. But then again, when there's too much space, they seek you again, and they don't know why they are doing this. They don't do this intentionally, but of course there are people who play you, and there are people who are, you know, kind of, whatever low-hanging fruit will come my way. I'll play a little bit with them around, and after, when it suits me, I go out of contact. When it suits me, I pop in again. Of course, you have these people. It's appropriate, but it's hard to stay in reality and not start imagining. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Um, of course, when you really like someone, you start to think about them. That's the whole dynamic of attraction and being in love. But knowing that you can walk away when something feels unhealthy, and you can endure the pain, and you can detach from somebody, that's such a good lesson. So even if you find yourself, oops, I did it again, I wasn't planning to, but I'm in a new Limerent episode, you can choose to go no contact. You can choose to send them this really healthy goodbye text that I talk about in other videos, saying this contact is not healthy for me, so respectfully leave me alone and I will leave you alone. And you can endure the pain and walk away. We can, people. And that's such a great lesson, because it means that even if we do get limerent again, that's not the end of the world. Even if we do choose wrong partners again, or we make the same patterns again, or like, oops, I'm dating a narcissist again. If you know that you can walk away and you will survive, even though it hurts, that's such a great lesson. I imagined my LO dead. I sobbed for a while and I grieved, and now I feel better without him. Yay, that's it, Rose. Good for you. We should grieve LO, because sometimes LO isn't only bad, and they did give us something. They did provide us with something, and we did feel great. And sometimes we did have nice moments and nice connection or a nice friendship. But this person dysregulates your system. That means that they are not good for you. Point, period. This person is not good for you. I'm going to wrap this up, people. I want to thank you for watching me. I have a community on YouTube, so if you want to support me, please do by becoming a member. And for now, I want to thank you so much. I'll pick up my live videos again, and I'll do them weekly from now on. And I want to thank you so much for supporting me and spread the word about Limerence. Bye bye.